Hello, I'm François from Shakmat Modular. We are a modular manufacturer based in Brussels, Belgium, and we are happy to meet Thonk at Superbooth again this year. So we had new products coming on this year at the Superbooth. We had, let's say, 2 new products and a half. The first one is the Clockapone, which is a clock generator and a transport controller. So basically, it's a clock generator that can take its clock rules with 4 ways. The first way is to control the BPM with a potentiometer. Second way is to have a tap tempo. And the third way is a clock input, external clock input, like a 4 ppqn clock input. Last way is you have a MIDI input with a classic MIDI to 8-inch jack cable. The clock generator got also a swing, which can go until triplets. And you have also a second clock output, which can be non-affected by the swing, non-affected by the stop, or both. Last thing is you have a reset output. Some word about the reset because it's a pretty nice protocol, we think. When you press play after a stop, it emits a reset, but it also delays a bit the first clock, meaning that you're sure that all your modules receive the reset before the clock signal. It's the same thing when you're receiving a MIDI start or MIDI stop. When you're receiving a MIDI start, it will delay slightly of 4 milliseconds, so something you won't ever notice. It will slightly delay the first clock signal in order to have the reset, make sure the reset is there before. So finally, all your sequencer can be on time and not have the problem of some on the first step while some other one on the second step. And I think it's pretty old for this one. The Gemini Pass works that way. It's a hybrid between analog and digital. It's 2 hi-hat Z-Corp VCAs with audio to trigger converter plus a digital modulation source. Combined all together, you can process the dynamic of a stereo signal or 2 mono signal. You can also process stereo signal with panning effect and this kind of thing. So the 2 inputs are summed and normally going to the threshold, to the trigger detector, but you have also an external input like a sidechain in a compressor, for example. So we have this drone, and we have the sound of the kick there, which will detect the trigger coming from the sound of the kick. So in the first mode, you can simply imitate like a sidechain or a compressor. So you have a certain depth to say how much we will attenuate and how much time will it take to go at the maximum. So you completely into sidechain compression on a stereo signal. Then you get the gating, expanding stuff with the time. Yeah, potentiometer is reversed on this version, but will be fixed on the final version. And you have also at which point will it cut. It will cut completely or will go to a certain floor. So what you can do with that, for example, is to get a drum in it and to auto-accentuate the drums because it will detect some triggers on the drum pattern, like on the sound of the drum pattern, and will be able to accentuate some hits in your drum pattern. Third mode is a panning system. So you know, panning is quite difficult to do because where you are a sound on the left, you need 6 dB on your left, minus infinite dB on the right, inverting on the right, and in the middle you have 3 dB on both channels, which is pretty hard to do coming from a classic LFO. We are hard-coded the curve of the panning thing, and so you have you cannot hear it because it's mono in the recording now, but you have a nice panning effect with the depth of the panning and the speed, which can almost go to audio rate. You have also a random slew panning system, same thing, but it's not a sine wave, it's a random thing. You have sieving control on time and depth. And after that, you have a way to control differently the channel. So there it's a shared mode, but you can also split to the control mode. To the split mode, where you use depth that is the maximum on both channel, but you control the time separately of both channel. It works pretty well with a sine LFO. We can have battling LFO on the left and the right, for example. And then you get the last way to control it, which is a split channel. You can control channel 1 and channel 2 separately, have different modes on both channels, so you can sync the module like having a mono tremolo and a mono sidechain, for example. They're sharing the same trigger input, but it still can behave the same way. So you could, even with one signal, take the signal into a tremolo and then reroute it in the second VCA to have, for example, a tremolo plus a gating or a compression or something like that. We're also presenting what we call the wide gallop. So the wide gallop is a limited edition of the night gallop. Some people are really enjoying the night gallop, but some people are very not okay with Euclidean sequences. So what we did is to retake the same ergonomy, same kind of algorithmic computing, and change completely the base table. Now it's other algorithm which may look like more chaotic, a bit more asymmetrical. And we also added auto reset function. And the auto reset function, so before you had a +8 length, so meaning that you can go from 1 to 8 to 9 to 16, and then you can still go to 1 to 8. Then you get 1 to 8, but with an auto reset on 8. So you can take a 3-step patterns, but always reset it on 8 if you like the 4/4 beat. Then you get the +8 classic function we had on the night gallop, and then you have the 60 until 16, but reset on 16. Meaning that you can have a 11 long pattern but auto reset in 16. And the new algorithm we created fits really well with this principle of auto resetting. We have a new pattern called, for example, Fill Next, which simply put one trigger to the other step, one trigger to the third step, one trigger to the fourth step, while you just raising the pulse value. This link to the auto reset system brings to some very new, fresh patterns compared to what we had in the night gallop. So it's something that I would advise to people who like the idea of algorithmic sequencing, but doesn't like really much the principle of Euclidean things, and for people who already have a night gallop and want to give more variety in their grooves in the modular system. So both modules will be available as kits. The clock upon, so the clock generator will be available in a month and a half. The Gemini Space need a bit of work, so will be available surely at the end of summer. Pricing will be around 110 as a kit for the clock upon. We hope around 150 for the Gemini Space. And I think that's pretty it. Thank you, Thonk. Have a nice Superbooth. See you soon. Bye-bye.